Hello. So let me quickly introduce you the topics that we will discuss today. The first one is level plot and setting. The second one will be reference gathering. So I will talk about of what I just have been inspired, what references I found, and what things I tried to implement into my level. After this section we will move to the player controller and rational level design techniques that I have also implemented during the process of production of the level, as the last section we will just discuss overall blockout, so you can see what I have done. You can listen my things, why I put the stuff in this or in this way. So yeah, I guess it should be interesting. I hope that you enjoy, so let's just kick off. And as already mentioned, we will start from the level plot and setting. So imagine that you are a professional mercenary killer in the past who lived undercover for a long time of his life without family and love. Even as a teenager, your family was killed by the local mafia. As it turned out later, they did it for fun on a bet. During one of the tasks to eliminate the whole family of your customer's main competitor, you were unable to kill his daughter due to the fact that she was really similar of your mother. You left her alive, but she also had to live in secret from everyone because you told to your customers that you have liquidated all of the entire family. So several years passed. You began to live together, fell in love, and even started to build your own family. But because of your work, you still had to move often, live in secret, and stuff like that. And at some point, you just realize that your savings that you earned during your career is already enough to have a happy life. So you decided to leave the game and try to start a normal life with your lover, and everything would be fine. But after just a few years of your happy and calm family life, the same customer whom you deceived by telling him that the entire family of his competitor was eliminated, finds out that you lied and the daughter of his competitor from the type is still alive. So he hired another hitman to kill her, and this time she was indeed dead. You're alone again, and you again lost everything. Your loved was one more time killed again, and now you have nothing more to lose. After a few years of ordinary life, you decided to take up old stuff and take the revenge on the old customer, and now he is your main competitor in his personal castle, in his fortress, and you just wanted to finish this story and just get the revenge on it. So that was a quick introduction of the level plot that I just did for this game. I guess that the fact is that even with some of this type of little simple plot, some kind of story of the player's character can work better on the perception of the whole game for the player himself. So in this way he can feel the whole story, he will better understand why he is at this level. Also he will be able to completely move into this role of this character, and he can feel this experience, these emotions that he will just put by himself on the level gameplay. So I'm counting that because of this, player just can understand why he goes alone to the whole fortress, why he will be ready to make incredibly dangerous jumps and stuff like this. just simply because he understands that he's already mentally dead. He's already lost everything, so he's not afraid to take risks and go to the very end. He has nothing for now to lose. And after this, he can, at the end of the level, he can really feel this revenge by himself. So it just this kind of plot will just move his emotions upper on the bigger level as there weren't any plot. So yeah, it was a good introduction of the setting of the game plot. And let's move to second section. It's reference gathering. So when I was started to look for something, I need to ask the question for what was I looking for actually. Thus I divided this stage, like the reference gathering, into the two different stages. The first was the concept art, defining what the level should be, how I want to see it, what the setting, what is the player of interest landmark, what is the endpoint. And after reading the requirements in the task, a picture with the fortress in the form of the player of interest landmark immediately came to my mind, and I started to think how to do it in the most interesting case, but I wanted to make it in some non-standard version. Firstly, I decided that I wanted to surround this castle completely with the water and make the only path accessible through the one central bridge. So as you see in examples. However, after thinking a little more about how I want to highlight my level in order to better create this open world atmosphere and give the players the choice of how he approached it for his revenge, so let him decide how he wants to play this level, I decided I just find out the solution that just helped me to kill several birds with one stone. So the first one, I decided that the map should be large and thus replayable. There is a player can play this level several times and complete it in each time in a new way. Therefore, I decided to make these 3 different approaches to the castle. They would be different in the setting, speed of passing, this distance, and also they will different in the difficulty of the gameplay. The second, let's say stone, it is the choice of difficulty, that I already mentioned, and moreover the type of the gameplay. So these 2 bonuses of approach that I used in the final was good for me because I wanted to give the opportunity to player to determine whether he wants to take more time to travel around the world and more measured pace of combat gameplay, or whether he wants to take the shortest way and just rush through the enemies. And on the third option, the player wants to focus on the difficulties and challenges through overcoming some obstacles using these special parkour abilities of the player character, which I implemented. So at the end, I just decided to make some common concept of the first of 2 way of thinking. Like at first it was the castle surrounded of some water, some lake, river, it doesn't like with some water, and now the approach is like then the castle is like in the open space and you can come in some way as you want. So when I just combine it, I got the clean image in the head that I want. From the left side of the castle would be some water, some river, some simple water stuff. The center will be across this water, so it saves this central bridge, the official bridge of coming into the our castle. And the third way is just surrounding us natural mountains and other dry environment stuff. So, and you can see on the screen the overall result of the map, how I try to make it. The second part of the reference gathering was to check games in the similar climate with similar gameplay mechanics, and for this occasion I used the games like Dark Souls 3 and Destiny 2. I inspired the most of these two games from the Dark Souls. I wanted to see how they implement stuff like combat stuff into the setting of castles, near castles in this environment. I just want to see how big is it, how much obstacles there on the map, and how person can how he can feel in the setting like this. And in the Destiny 2, in that game, I looked for the player controller, so I just tried by myself. I just tried to understand how the player can interact with the world, how he can just work with the world environment. So I just found some interesting hide spots that player can get in only after using these special abilities like double jumps and stuff like this. So I just want to build these unique spots and use them also in my level. And if you already started talking about some double jumping and some surrounding stuff that we can use into our advantage, let's move to the third section, and it will be the player controller and rational level design. It is I combined these two topics because there are two it's two topics, but they're so much depend on each other, so I just combine it into one. And basically player has like the basic simple controller when you can just run with your WASD keys on your keyboard. You can jump with a single press of space key. You can double jump by double pressing space key. You're also able to dash when pressing the caps lock key. And another ability was to climb on the ladders. To perform it, you need to come to the ladder, press F to interact, and just then you can put on this ladder. All of these features are available, and my main task was to correctly implement them so that they were really important for the gameplay process. From these motifs, I decided to resort the method of the rational level design. So it looked like I did my own test related to jumping different distances at different heights. For each height, the player can reach by jumping and dashing at the same time. So there are some combinations of simple jump, of double jump, of running and double jump, just to speed up before you're jumping. Or also you can combine like the running, double jumping and dashing, so you can move even more forward. And all of the stuff I just try to test. So it just gives me a real statistic and it was not just like a test of how can we get onto this height from this position or no. Of course, there was one of the point of doing this test, but another and the most important point of this rational level design approach is to have these statistics of how exactly difficult each jump of on some distance is hard for the player. So it was looked like I had determined some heights, like you're jumping on the 0 height, on the half height, on the 1 meter height, 1.5, and so on. And then I was just testing, like, okay, how many attempts were successful where we of 10, yeah, so it's important. So every I had for 10 attempts for the each jump, and like how much of these 10 were successful. So that's why I can determine how the difficult is actual jump. So yeah, it was just some routine test work to just make 10 attempts like on the different distances at the different heights. So at the end I just have the full tables with real statistics of the difficulty of this gameplay mechanic. And in the future, while I was blockout in my my level, I haven't need to make additional tests. Yeah, so if I knew as a designer that I want to this part or this jump to be hard, so I just don't need to try to figure out how much distance and how much height I need to put these two cubes or these two platforms. I just can simply already see it from my table, so for the prepared table, and where I can see all the whole statistics, and it's just fast, and it's a huge economy of time. So I can just, okay, I want to make it a medium difficult of the jumping, yeah, from player to move from one point to another. So okay, I see that I have this one type of difficulty. It is on 8 meters distance and 2.5 meters of height. Yeah, so, and I just put these two platforms on these parameters, and this looks, it is the main idea of the rational level design, and moreover it can help in the future, not only in first iteration of the level productivity of the level production, but also it can help in the future steps. So when VTB team will have some amount of iterations of some tests, and we decided that okay, we want to make it harder or we want to make it simpler, we don't need to figure out what we need to try to do, what we need to try to change, but we simply already have all the solutions. We simply have this metric and this tool of how we easily can change the level difficulty. So yeah, it was the main idea of the rational level design. And as much as I mentioned that I try to put my player controller as an essential part of the gameplay, so that's why these home metrics weren't like the some special situation, yeah, and one time shoot, but I used it in every blockout area, so I can just control and just create some interesting spots for the players, so they can try to find them, to understand. With experience of the game, it will just get better and better. So yeah, and let's smoothly and finally move to the most important part, is blockout. When I talk about the concepts and references that I was inspired by, I already touched on the topic of how player can get to the castle, and specifically and about the three different approaches, about three different paths and entrances through which you can either with which you can just directly enter the castle. So let's back to this topic a little bit, and let's talk a little more about how the beginning of the level is look for the player. So it is important for me that the player feels natural and confident at the level, that the player fully trusts the game and uses all the opportunities that I am as level designer prepared for him. Immediately from the start, the player sees his ultimate goal, his like landmark. This is the castle itself during my story, but how to get into it, or how player supposed to find the way to find this castle, the way to this castle. To do this, I decided to make a special spot for the player at the height of the mountain next to him, and at the same time I decided to give the player a chance to calmly learn almost all the mechanics of the game. This is important in order to observe the development of the complexity of the campaign passing the level. It is important to firstly teach the player how our world is built, show him what he can do and what he cannot do, so that when it moment comes that he already in the castle himself, there will be already no time to study yet, to learn how the things work. The pace of the gameplay at that moment, like in the end of the level, will be really high, so player should quickly already navigate and quickly and easily navigate around the area of the castle, know every mechanics, understand how to interact with it, and just enjoy the process. So that's why this first minutes of the level, when we teach the player, when we introduce him all of his availabilities, all of his mechanics, it's really important just to make it clear, between the game and the user. Thus, on the way to the vantage point, the player can learn normal and double jump, learn how to climb on the ladder, meet enemies for the first times, learn the ability to dash during the battles and as a part of combination of jumping, and at the very end of the path in front of him, at the glance will appear all of the available ways to the castle, among which the player will be able to choose like the most interesting approach and way for himself. And I can name it as a first phase of the level, when the player learns the game and chooses his further path to his main goal. When the player has had enough of the view of the castle and its surroundings, he can proceed directly to the journey to one of the entrances of the castle. He can do it with the help of analog of the leap of faith, from which I borrowed from the well-known Assassin's Creed game series. And also I designed, as it was required, I designed a lock and key system in such way that in order to open the first gate to the castle territory, the player must find the key, and in each of these passes will be each key, because as I mentioned, we have 3 ways to enter the castle, so player decide one of these ways most suit to him, and on the each way there a key, of course, so just player will not get lost or will be needed to back on another path just to bring some key for the to open gates. Yeah, so as already mentioned, that these passes are different in the style of the game, like the styling of the gameplay, different in the level difficulty. And for example, choosing the left path, the player's gameplay will be fun and full of different jumps, bouncing off the wall, climbing stairs, and stuff like this. And the plot of this path is for walking along the canyon, descending to the river, but now it's just under restoration, so the player will climb and hang in scaffolding and other platforms that are located near a cliff. And interesting thing is that since the wall bouncing is not the most important and crucial mechanic, I decided to teach this mechanic only to players, like to give this opportunity of learning, yeah, only for the players who chosen this this path of parkour. Let it name. This can be called a kind of RPG element in this project. Of course, I did not focus on it. However, having passed this path, the player will better think and notice places in which he can use the bounce mechanic from the wall in order to climb on some interesting spots. Of course, player who have chosen other passes will have all this opportunity, so they have this available mechanic of bouncing the wall. However, the key factor that having chosen the path of parkour, the player will already skillfully climb to the different heights with enemies next to him. When players from other paths, let it name like this, may not even realize that that they can do the stuff like that. Yeah, that they can just try to bounce from one wall to another wall and just get on some high spot. So they will have this ability, but like the more parkour guys will already see it and try to use it, when another people who chose another roads would just focus on the enemies. So let's move to the second path available to the player, or that which is on the middle of the map. It is the shortest, but from this is the most difficult path of all. The plot is just the main official entrance to the castle, so the owner goes to the bridge bridge himself. From this bridge he meets guests, etc. This path is inherent in the style of players who do not like to lie down for a long time to target players, and who just simply like to rush ahead. Here I like the architectural element of the bridge, which I found when I was looking for the references. So I decided to use it as a kind of weakening of the pressure on the player, because when he walks along the bridge he encounters both enemies on the bridge itself and with enemies that will be on the castle itself. Yeah, so using these small rooms, player can hide at least from the enemies from the bridge, and he will just be able to focus and shoot on the guys from the above part, and to be safe, so no one will attack him from the side when he was just shooting at the bow. The third version of the possible approach to the castle is explained by the plot, unlike the main official entrance, with the help of bridge that I mentioned previously. All of the dirty work takes place like here on this third like right side of the castle. Heavy loads, food and other transport items enter through this entrance, so as not to interfere with the owner and not to spoil the view of his beautiful territory while the workers doing their work. This path is the longest, and it has elements of gameplay. It has all elements of the whole gameplay. The path will be the most optimal for those who like to fight enemies but also want to practice their parkour skills. Along the way, the player will encounter several enemy locations, use special elements in form of pretending stones to make the path shorten, and climb on the mountain on the way to the side entrance to the castle grounds. So summing up the second phase of the level, I wanted to give the player the opportunity to choose the most optimal and closest style of play for him, and thirdly making it possible to get the completely new emotions from replaying the level, because once the player chooses one tactic, the second time he can choose a completely different one. For the third time he can choose also the third tactic. So it for sure increase the player's involvement in the game. And the third and the final phase of this level is the gameplay on the territory of the castle itself. Of course, here the player focuses on shooting, on finding the key to open the last gate, where his goal is directly located in the form of the old customer. Here the player is expected by a large number of enemies. Enemies can be located both behind ordinary shelters and on the outer levels in the form of castle fans, special platforms for guards, towers, etc. Out of this part is already, so to speak, like a linear type of gameplay. Since the player can enter the territory from 3 different areas, I also placed the key the next to enter the gate of which player enters, so it avoids some annoying situation when you just entered from the left side and key was near the right side, so you just need to move on the whole castle just for finding this key. And I afraid that situation like this can just delay some of the possible replayability. So just to avoid this stuff, I just put the keys from this one gate just near all of the entrances, not directly near the gate of the entrance to the castle, but in that area, so player can just easily find this key there. Yeah, so originally I painted the layout of this territory in the ordinary notebook just to better imagine how it should like, so you can see the photo of my old notebook and the first sketch. Yeah, and in general this part of the level belongs to such typical combat style. A lot of shelters, cloud spaces, maneuvers between buildings, and of course there are places for the player movement mechanics, as I already mentioned for a few times. And you probably already noticed that there are different colors on material, on the objects. For convenience and better understanding of my blockout, I created rules for using different colors, so each color means something by itself, and let me introduce what it means. So orange color is cover for the player, green symbolizes a specific goal, it can be a key for the gate that he need to open, or it can be some of the wall of a building which survey tells you that the key is somewhere in this building. Purple color, like with this color I marked surfaces that can be used in a combination of some jumps. So for example, if you see vertical walls painted purple nearby, then you can know that with help of some buttons or another combination you just can use it and jump over it. Blue color means water, it's simple, and yellow means some special places, such at the beginning of the special viewpoint. Yeah, so where player can see the whole available level passes. So to define what what he want to use. And the last location on the level is the owner's territory itself, on which only he and his closest guard stays alive. In fact, in the house of this guard, the player can find the last key to the house of his main enemy, main boss, let's say. So yeah, he needs to take these keys and get into the house. I decided to take this location even one level higher, so that the player each time feels that he is moving further and further in the level and is already almost at his goal, so that his gameplay does not turn into just a routine process of killing some bots, but so that the player feels that he is already almost at the goal. At this level of the castle, I decided to reduce this voltage as this game difficulty progress a little, for two reasons. For the first reason is more logical, that the main forces of the enemy were concentrated on the approach to the house, so you just already done with all of them. And the second one is that, as already mentioned, I wanted to give the player the feeling that he alone reached the castle, cleared all the guards on the territory, and now there still are some guards to done with, but player can feel that he is already near it. Yeah, so he's already done all of the hardest stuff, and he just need to one more stage, one more simple stage. Just he's already feeling that he's really at the end of this whole story, yeah, so that he finally can get a revenge. And it's for me it was important in this case, like in the ending of the level, to make it smoother, to make it easier, just to have a rest and to have this this moment of awaiting. Yes, so you're feeling that you're almost done, and use this approach, not like to increase the difficulty even more, so player just cannot feel he can just go through the whole story, make it more difficult, and that like just the end. No, I just want to make it some peak, and there a little bit easier to just feel that okay, I already almost have done it, just few more things, and that's all. So entering the house, the player just needs to find his victim, and the level ends at this, and the character simply resigns himself to the fact that nothing can be changed anyway, goes to the nearest gate, looks at the mountain of death, and the continuation can be very different, but that will be already another story, and the story of this level, of this work, ends here. I'm extremely grateful to you to watch this video till the end. I feel that it takes some time, but I just wanted to give all of the emotions, of the immersion and all of the passion that I had during doing this test. Just want to explain it to you, so I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that you enjoy my solutions, that you enjoy this story and this level. So let me please know what you're thinking about it. I will be waiting for your opinion, and thank you one more time for your attention, for your time, and that's all for me. So have a good day and wish you all the best.